You know we're recording now.
Are we?
Always.
Did you guys
Always.
do that again on purpose?
No. If you would look up from your phone, you.
Are we recording right now?
Technically, but don't worry.
Hello and welcome to the Greater Meaning Podcast.
God, this sounds so good.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Josh.
Together, we're bringing you the stories of the Bible, beginning to end in chronological order. And today, we move on from the story of Abraham. After Abraham's death, the next major patriarch is his son, Isaac. And although not as much is technically written about his life and events compared to his famous father, it is important to note that he is an extremely significant figure as he carries the legacy and promise of God through his life and bloodline. He fulfills a crucial role as the physical representation of God's promise to manifest in the world for all to see. Nevertheless, Isaac is still a very compelling and interesting figure. He has a lot of really interesting things that happen in his life, and I'm extremely excited to get started on this episode today with you guys. We'll be picking it back up from Genesis chapter 25, again, after the death of Abraham. But I do want to make a quick addendum before we kind of dive in.
Quick addendum.
I don't think we mentioned this last time, but Jacob and Esau, both the children of Isaac and Rebekah, they were actually alive during the death of Abraham. I don't think we covered it. I think we were going to cover the birth of Jacob and Esau this episode, but I do like to make a quick side. I think it's pretty interesting to note they both would have been roughly around age 15 around the death of Abraham. So I think it's kind of, I don't know why, I just thought that was interesting to note that they would have been alive during that significant moment.
Definitely very significant. Significant.
Significant.
Okay. You told us.
Well, we're going to work a little bit backwards. I'm glad that you guys are as excited about this as I am.
I'm glad they were alive.
Now we're going to go backwards and talk about... We're going to go backwards now and talk about before they were born and everything that happened before then. Nathan, if you could pick up, we're actually going to read from Genesis chapter 25, and we're going to start with verses 12 through 18.
12 through 18, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Now this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maidservant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebashov.
You definitely don't have to read all these names.
Then why are you making me read this? You're making me read
it's very
Mishma,
important.
Duma,
He should read
Masa.
then Kedar, Abdil, Midsam, Mishma, Duma, Masa, Hadar, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedima. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were their names, by their towns and their settlements, 12 princes according to their nations. These were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he breathed his last and died and was gathered to his people. They dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt, as you go towards Assyria. He died in the presence of all his brethren.
Yeah, I made you read that just because I wanted to kind of put, of course, Ishmael will have he'll be living on in the background while the events that we go forward with are going to take place. But he's going to now officially, after burying his father with Isaac, he's going to officially move as like a background character. God fulfills his promise to Hagar. We see that he was given 12 princes as sons. Like he becomes a great nation. His descendants, we're not going to go into like every descendant and important things that happen, but just know that a lot of people consider his descendants to live in the area of like Arabia, and he was kind of nomadic. We see
his descendants throughout the entire Bible, basically. So
yeah,
even though we don't see Ishmael anymore, we will probably again soon. Not maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, we'll see his descendants for sure.
Ishmael used a bow and arrow.
Yep. That, what do they call him?
The archer that used the bow and arrow.
They called him a warring man. What did they refer him to again?
I wonder
Hawkeye.
if he was the best around.
He was Hawkeye.
I think that they might have created that Hawkeye persona after him.
Robin
No,
Hood.
They didn't. He was a wild donkey of a man. That's what they called him. Sorry, I was looking at.
Well, Hawkeye was kind of a wild
He was
donkey of a
referred to-
What do you
man.
mean, a wild donkey?
They called him the wild donkey of a man in the Bible. In Genesis.
Just a man that was
16
stubborn
verse
and
12.
did what he pleased.
Well, remember that God said that he would be completely at war with all of his brethren and everybody. Nobody, he would never stay at peace with anybody. But
Now, didn't
needless to say,
Hawkeye fight his
Ishmael
best
is-
friend?
Maybe because everybody kept.
Dude, we're not.
He
I don't
actually,
know.
I think at one point he
Ish-
fought every single one of the Avengers. Think about that.
He did go on a killing spree after the snap.
of Scarlet's death. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Ishmael, a lot of people consider, or the Islamic faith, they consider a descendant of Ishmael's to be Muhammad, and then the Prophet Muhammad. They think that he would have came from there, and so he's also kind of considered the father of Islam, or the father of Muhammad, which is the father of Islam. So that's really the only other notable thing I'm going to mention about them. We're going to continue on and actually pick up, and I just wanted to put that footnote in there, and we can kind of conclude, because he was a major character. He was somebody that Abraham loved. He was his firstborn son, technically, even though he wasn't the son of promise. And I think it's a good conclusion to his life. He had children, he had people, he was surrounded by his brethren, died at a good old age of 137. And now we move on to the birth of Jacob and Esau. Nathan, if you could read on from verses 19 to 23 for us.
This is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel and Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. But the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If all is well, why am I like this?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. That's a weird way to word that.
So once again,
and the Lord said to her, "You want me to continue?
No, I mean, you're good. I mean, it's just,
You want me to continue? I'll just continue. This is what the Lord said to her.
okay.
2 nations are in your womb. 2 people shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger."
All right. Yeah.
Were you going to say, Josh, the same thing?
Yeah, basically same situation, kind of what we have with Sarah. She's not able to have children. She's getting kind of in a desperate situation. Goes before God, said, "What's going on? I want children." Blah blah blah.
It's funny, yeah. You see there's kind of this repeating trend in the life of these patriarchs, that their significant other isn't able to have children. But one thing that's interesting is that Isaac really loved Rebekah. He I would say, I think somebody told me, and I didn't even realize it, I think he's the only one of the patriarchs in the first, like the major ones, like Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and go on, that didn't have like multiple wives or concubines. He's just him and Rebekah. He never goes off and tries to have kids with anybody else.
Because he's a simple man. He's a simple man. He's the man that likes to wander in the fields. That's the type of man he is.
He's definitely, I just thought it was a kind of a beautiful thought. But it was 20 years they were married before, and she still wasn't able to give birth. And some people believe that's why Abraham, remember in the last episode, we talked about that he remarried and had children, because Abraham was like, well, I mean, they were married, that's great, but they're not producing. Maybe they can't produce again. And then he had more children just to kind of stock up his quiver of arrows, you know what I mean? Quote unquote.
Speaking of arrows.
No, we're not going to go back to arrows. We can't go back to arrows. But yeah.
Another point, basically, that with these patriarchs, that they're not able to have children. It's almost like God's trying to show us and them that he is the one that's giving them the children. They're not just having children, as many as they want, blah, blah, blah. They're going in accordance to God's will of allowing them to have children. So I kind of like that it's showing that.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's an amazing point. It's God showing that he's the one from which the blessing comes from. We can do what we can, and we can believe that, some people are successful because of their own wisdom or their own luck or their own business acumen or anything like that. But when God said that I'm going to make you a nation and I'm going to make you your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, as the sands of the sea, and then all of a sudden you can't have any kids. It really makes you rely on God. And how much more do you glorify God once he gives you that? And we see God answers her prayer, right? Mm-hmm. He blesses them not with one. She gets pregnant and she's happy, but she's like, there's obviously something wrong inside of here. And she goes to God and prays, which I think is really interesting too. Like, so God answers Rachel's prayer when she goes to him and she says, you could definitely feel when there's something wrong. I'm not that I've ever been pregnant and can speak for myself.
I have.
But
men can be pregnant nowadays, apparently. So why not?
Yeah, unfortunately, some people believe that. Obviously, I don't think that we believe that's true, but everybody to each his own. God responds to Rachel, and it tells her that 2 nations are in your womb, which is really interesting because it says that the children inside of her literally were struggling with each other. I don't really know what that means. I don't think they were actually wrestling, but it's just kind of funny how they were kicking each other, and it was like so much so that she's like, I don't think this is how it's supposed to feel with one baby. But God says 2 people shall separate from your body. One shall be stronger than the other. And this is interesting. The older shall serve the younger. Now, that's, very, very interesting to note because it seems to be something that's already coming up a lot in the Bible. I mean, look at how Abel was younger than Cain and he was kind of preferred over Cain. And now you have Jacob, who's younger than Esau, and there's literally a verse that says that, for Jacob I have loved and Esau I have hated, when God talks about them. Now, I know that's a famous verse, but I think it's important to note that when we're looking at that idea where God chooses one to serve the other, it's not an emotional hatred like you would think of today. Like, he didn't like him. It was more of like his selection to choose to use one over the other. And I think we're going to see here as the story continues and as they're both born, and we're going to talk a little bit. We're not going to go too much into their lives yet, but we're going to talk about their early life and you're going to see the characters of each develop a little bit. And I think you're going to be able to see some context clues as to why the way things pan out is the way things pan out. That, eventually she gives birth to both the twins boys. And very interesting, Isaac is a 60 whenever they give birth, or whenever Rebecca gives birth. Esau comes out hairy and red, and Jacob comes out literally clutching the heel of Esau. And it says, the Bible tells us that Esau became a mighty hunter, a man of the field whom Isaac loved and preferred.
And Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents.
Yeah. So, and then it was actually funny that not only hanging out with tents, but that Rebecca preferred Jacob, which is, you see some partiality selected between the parents and the children. And I think that is kind of one of the roots of where these issues kind of come from between them. You can see they're already fighting from the womb. There's already dissension between these brothers, and where they should be raised up together with equal love. The Bible actually tells us in the New Testament that partiality is a sin, that you shouldn't do that.
Huh.
For the fact that one favored the other and the other one favored, the wife favored the son and the one son and the father favored the other one, because apparently Isaac really loved his son's hunting with the bow and the arrows. I mean, it comes back to it.
Well, like how we talked before, basically, like when we brought up the Rebecca's family and Laban, right? Laban was her brother. That they're very sneaky, and when they want to get their way, they do whatever they can to make sure that their way gets gotten, right? And
one interesting thing about that is that when they saw that Jacob was born and he was clutching Esau's heel, technically they pulled him out. They were born at the same time, but he was younger, quote unquote. The name Jacob actually means supplanter. Rebecca had this idea that the younger will serve the older, and then they literally named him this name, which is going to be very significant later on, the fact that his name is Jacob.
If he's clutching his heel, right? And they're being pulled out basically together. That form of contact becomes continuous. So as Esau's coming out, theoretically, they're basically coming out at the same time because the contact is being made throughout the whole process, right?
Are you trying to say that they were born one single body? And when you let go of the heel, now we are twins.
Exactly. Basically,
Yeah.
nobody came out first. They both came out together. But
Is this the
whatever? That's
No,
just an interesting. Either way, back to what I was trying to say with Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
So how you said basically, where it's kind of looked upon as a sin to have these to pick a favorite and choose a favorite and stay with it, right? Is that what you were kind of going with?
Yeah.
Okay, so like how I said before with Rebecca's family, where they're very devious in their ways, and when they want something, they make sure they get it. So obviously, if Jacob is Rebecca's favorite, and Rebecca is this kind of very wise, and I don't want to call her devious, but she's sneaky. Obviously, we'll see that. So when she wants to get her way, and Jacob is her favorite, she's going to make sure that Jacob gets what Esau already has.
In James chapter 2, verses 8 through 9, just so I can clarify, if you really fulfill the royal law according to Scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You're doing well. But if you show partiality, you are committing sin and are convicted by the law as transgressors. The specific verse, while partiality in the family shouldn't take place, that verse also refers to like judging others and whenever you're not loving your neighbor. But I think even showing that in the family, I don't think is a good thing. You know, I think it's inevitable. Sometimes a parent will prefer one.
That's the college kid.
Yeah, I don't know if I prefer. It's tough to say, but because I mean, all parents, how many like, well, I love you all equally. You're all my favorite. I mean, Josh, you come
Which
from
is
a
a
family.
lie.
How many siblings do you have, Josh?
Oh, I'm the oldest of 8, but I'm just trying to say, like, because I have children, I love them all differently in different ways. So I love them all, but the way that I love each one of them is different. I see where you're coming from, but because you are a sibling of 5, right? Is it 5 or 4?
Which one was my parents' favorite?
Out of you guys?
Yeah, Nathan be able to tell from the outside.
Well, they talk about you all the time. So,
Well,
you
I
and
feel
Tim,
like it's
the first and the
Matt
youngest.
Daniel. Actually, no, I don't think they really have a favorite. They
My
kind
parents,
of,
yeah.
they do.
either way.
You
When they listen to
you
this
just
episode,
suck.
they'll definitely
So
let
that's
you
why
know.
they talk about you so much.
That's good. But let's talk a little bit about the characters.
No, I'll just be my parents. Their favorite, clearly me. I was the miracle baby. You know, there was only 2 of us. One's 16 years older, so obviously I was the one where I shouldn't have been around.
You were the baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Esau was kind of your manly man. He was hairy. He was a man of the field. He was a skilled hunter. Isaac as a father, and it was his firstborn son. You could tell he really took to him. I don't think it's like super surprising that he loved him so much. Like you could think of like, as a man, you want your sons to be.
It doesn't say he loved him. It says,
and Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game.
that's what he
But
loved.
Rebecca.
Well, he probably made some pretty good.
He probably caught some
steaks.
good meat. Like, I don't think he loved him as much as he loved what he brought to the
Bro,
table.
you want to bond with your father? Cook him some game that you killed. If you ever, my dad has been trying to get me to go kill a pig with him for years. I'm not that guy. I'm more of a Jacob personally. I always have been. My dad was always trying to get my brothers and me to go with him fishing and go outdoors and do stuff like that. And I was always hanging back.
Plus,
I liked cooking.
you know, Isaac was a man of the field as well. He loved the fields. So the fact
From that one
Esau
verse that he was
also,
out.
Bro,
There was one verse where he's out meditating in the field when he met.
either way,
Rebecca.
the fact that verse is in the Bible kind of like it's important because it kind of shows who he is. He could have been
That's true.
chilling at home, but he's actually out in the field meditating. And
You're
I'm
right.
assuming that's probably what Esau's doing while he's, going out with his bow. There's a lot of times where you settle down, you relax. I haven't gone bow hunting yet, but I have my bow and it's actually behind me right there. And
Nice.
I've been practicing, and I plan to go out there and meditate while I'm, pulling back my draw
Yeah.
and releasing.
So we're going to continue the story now. Nathan, if you'll pick up, we're going to see what happens. So you have this partiality. Isaac prefers Esau. Rebecca prefers Jacob.
By the way, I wanted to say, is this the first mention of twins in the Bible?
Yeah. I don't think of anybody. I mean, there was two brothers, Cain and Abel, but that didn't turn out good.
They weren't twins, though.
No. One was obviously older than the other.
These are twins.
Yeah, this is the first mention of twins, but they're also so different looking. Like, one is super hairy and red, which is nuts. And then the other one is, I guess, not super hairy
Yeah.
because it says he's slick. But Nathan, can you read from verses 29 through 34? This is super, a very big turning point for the life of the patriarchs.
Yeah, this is crazy because
This is a very impactful moment.
this moment is what Gordon Ramsay wishes he could do, right? To make a stew so good that you'll sell your
All
soul.
right, I was not following you at all for a second.
Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with the same red stew, for I am weary." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright as of this day." And Esau said, "Look, I'm about to die, so what is this birthright to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me as of this day." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose, and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
Despised his birthright.
A stew so good, he sold his birthright.
Now, it's important to note that even today, a lot of Eastern cultures, and especially in the ancient patriarchal period, the firstborn son had allotted to him a double portion of the paternal inheritance. So he became more than just an inheritor. He becomes the priest of the family. He would become the patriarch of all the brothers, siblings, herdsmen, everything. And he inherited the judicial authority of his father. Esau traded a double portion, his priestly position and judicial authority in the family, for some delicious lentil stew with some venison in it. That's nuts.
And lentils ain't even that good.
Lentils are delicious.
I don't like lentils.
Have you ever had like a good lentil stew
Yes,
with meat
I
in
have.
it? I was always a big fan of the way my mom would make it. I wouldn't sell my birthright as the firstborn son,
You know what? From coming from that backpacking trip, we were at points where we were starving and thirsty, and I could see when you get to a point of extreme desperation where your body gets to a point where it's like, all I need to do is eat. That's all I want. You'll do anything almost just for a little nibble.
That's true. You did come from like
a little bite.
Yeah, you did come from like a crazy 3-day backpacking trip where all you had was like packed granola bars. So imagine he comes from like a long hunting trip, probably a failed hunting trip where it's been days since he's eaten. He's exerted all this energy, but it does tell a lot about the type of character he is, where he's a very in the now, instant gratification type individual where he wasn't really thinking ahead. He didn't take these things, like what all the things I mentioned, seriously. But what's more interesting to me is like, Jacob could have just given his brother some soup. Why did he also just be like, give me your birthright? But it wasn't even like a joke. The way that he refers to it, he's like, no, swear to me this day that you'll give me my birthright. It wasn't even like, haha, give me your birthright and I'll get you this soup.
There are those people in all of our lives. There are those people that they wait to get the upper hand on you when they see that you are down. And then they are fully prepared, because at that point, Jacob must have had to have come to him. You know what I mean? Because if Esau was home, and he could have just found a way to, easily, quickly make some food or whatever, but they had to have been in an area where Esau could not find an alternative to any type of food. You know what I mean?
I mean, I just think it was just that moment. I think he didn't take that conversation seriously. And like you said, Jacob was that opportunistic, like, just waiting for you to slip. And it sucks that it was his brother. And it doesn't honestly bode well for the character of Jacob either. I'm not trying to make Jacob seem like he's the hero in this situation. Maybe, I mean, later we see God uses him, and there are characteristics of Jacob which I think God preferred in his chosen one over Esau. But at the same time, I don't want to make it seem like it's a good thing that he was like, give me your birthright, because it's kind of deceptive. It's true to his name. From the very birth, he was like clawing after his brother, and he's trying to supplant him, and he's finding him in this moment of weakness. It's interesting to say the least. I don't know. They're both at fault. I don't think it's just that character flaw, right? It's that instant gratification. He didn't take it seriously. He was looking for temporary relief over like being wise about anything in his life, as he probably should have been.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm just trying to picture why it came to this moment, because I cannot. If Esau's a hunter, I cannot, in my mind, picture him as a complete idiot to do this. He had to have known the importance of a birthright. He had to have known it, because it's something that's very common back in the day. So now let's look at it from this point of view.
Mm-hmm.
If Jacob is somewhat like Rebecca, where he obviously is being a little bit on the devious side, and I will say that word devious because he's being tricky. And obviously, still right to the point, because he's asking him a direct question, and it's Esau's fault for saying yes. But either way, like I said before, it doesn't look like they were at camp. It almost looks like Jacob knew beforehand that Esau is always extremely hungry when he shows up, and he always scrambles for food. So Jacob must have placed himself away from camp, kind of maybe a couple miles or whatever, in the direction where he knew that Esau would be coming out of the field. So he kind of placed himself there, perfectly cooking this stew, knowing that Esau would show up basically extremely hungry, and Jacob would kind of take advantage of that situation.
I think you're kind of right, maybe a little bit. I don't think he went afar. I think he was a man of the tents, and that's just one of the things they did. It was prepare food. He probably just enjoyed doing that. And Esau came in, and I don't think that he just was like, he was definitely waiting for an opportunity, because how does that even come up in conversation? Like, haha. It had to have definitely been like a long-standing trope in their family.
But what gets to me is that at the end of this passage, basically, they ate and drank, arose, and then he went his way. Thus,
he just left. He just went on his business. It doesn't mean that he went further down to his tent. I mean, let's just leave it at that, because there's no contextual evidence to state that Jacob went ahead. What probably happened was his mom, Rebecca, whom had this prophetic word from the Lord, all she knows is that God told her the younger will serve the greater. And Jacob is somebody who spent more time with his mom because she was in the tents while Isaac and Esau were out in the fields. So think about how often his mom would have been in his ear. Like, as she growing up, every time he did something good, it's like, yeah, that's my firstborn, really. So that's the one that's going to get everything, imagine.
Yeah, but it just
that's
looks
more than likely
it
what
looks
happened.
like Jacob was waiting for this moment, and he had the question already prepared for him.
There definitely is some implanting from his mother, because she's going to be the one that helps him further on whenever it comes to the major deception. She jumps in. So that's kind of where my idea was. So he probably
I was just trying to paint the picture of the location and the circumstance of what was going on.
Yeah, I think I don't think that he went as far as to go out like, oh, let me trap him. I think he just was an opportunist, and he found that opportunity.
Jacob was an extremely wise man in whatever he did. So
he was shrewd. He was very he was very. He was very minded like that to try to win over, and sneaky kind of in that.
It's not beyond him to do something like this almost. So,
well, he's definitely willing to go about some trickery to get what he wants. And we're going to see that going on. But needless to say, it's very interesting how over a bowl of soup, Esau gives up his firstborn right. And it's not just like any other family in this time where it would have been a right for like, oh, I'm inheriting my dad's sheep in the tent out of all my brothers. No, you have a family who God himself said, I'm going to make you guys a great nation. And it's something that I know for a fact Isaac would have told Esau. And we know that it says that he despised it, but Esau, again, I say that he's someone who was very short-minded and valued temporary pleasure more than looking forward, because it says he despised it, but you see later on in the story when he really finds out the results of what all this means, and when it comes to the head and he loses his firstborn blessing, he weeps over it and he vows to kill Jacob. Like, it's something that affects him. So it's not as far to say that he didn't care at all, take it or leave it. He definitely cared, but the type of person he was very nonchalant about things he should have taken seriously. Whereas Jacob was very like maybe taking it more seriously, really understood the value behind things, and doesn't matter what means or by whatever means, he would get what he wants.
Yeah. Okay.
I reference Hebrews a lot. I realize now looking down on my notes because especially with the Abraham, but Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16 talks a little bit about this. It says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person like Esau, who for one morsel of food sold his birthright. For you know that afterwards, when he wanted to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it diligently with tears. So that kind of gives that idea that I was saying, that he did regret it later. He sought the blessing, even though he sold it so easily when he tried to go get, when he tried to go get what was owed to him, quote unquote. He didn't realize that these little things that he had done in his youth affected that. You know what I mean? So I think it's important. The point for Christians today is that we must value our spiritual inheritance as the most precious thing. We all have inheritances. It's not just physical land and physical, we from our dad, we have a business or a house or, whatever. We have a spiritual inheritance from God, and it needs to be the most precious thing in our lives and not give it up for anything. We are all sons and daughters of God who believe in Jesus and are to inherit this spiritual promise that was made to Abraham, right? Our inheritance is eternal life in the kingdom of God. So we need to watch. We can learn a lot from this moment with Esau. Like, what are we giving up in our short term to, like, just for the name of comfort or convenience, or, what are we giving up spiritually whenever we're trying to, I'm not going to start preaching, but you know what I mean?
I thought you were getting into the greater meaning already. So.
My bad.
Andrew has a new strategy. He has many greater meanings, like tiny ones. And he repeats them all at the end.
That's right. I split them all up.
TGMs.
Here's the thing that Esau did. He didn't realize how important your word is. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, your word is bond.
Okay.
He just said, yeah, I'll give you my birthright. He
Pause for dramatic effect there so hard.
Nobody, he just like, yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, sure, whatever, dude. Just give me the food. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing. Jacob even goes back, he's like, he's like, all right, give me a bowl of soup.
Hey, listen, I'm taking your birthright. Like, yeah, you are. Sure, buddy.
He's like, no, seriously, swear to me right now that you'll give me your birthright.
I swear. Just give me some food.
All right, here's some lentils.
Yeah, like, he obviously didn't take that whole thing seriously.
Must have been some pretty good soup.
Hey, it must have been some.
Jacob had to have been good at it. I'm sorry. He was in the tent cooking all day, and there's a lot to be said there. But that's where we're going to kind of finish with chapter 25. We're actually going to leave off on Jacob and Esau as the main characters of our story, continuing, and we're going to focus on Isaac, their father, as alongside, obviously.
That is the end of chapter 25.
No, that's what I'm saying. That we're going to move on from chapter 25, and we're going to continue into chapter 26.
But I love chapter 25.
A lot of interesting happens. I mean, you cover the death and burial of Abraham.
Are all hairy men people that live in the moment?
I don't know.
You
You're
look
an
at
extremely
Samson,
hairy man.
You look at John the Baptist. You look at
John the Baptist hairy?
I don't know. Let's just assume he was.
He's always depicted as hairy.
He's wearing a camel's.
He's always depicted as a hippie because he's like out in the wilderness.
He had wild hair. And what are you trying to say? We're going off.
Are all hairy men living in the moment? and not planning for the future.
John the Baptist's whole thing was preparing the way for the future that Jesus his whole thing was like, repent, Jesus is coming. Like, really the future-minded dude.
I don't think how hairy you are has anything to do with how you take life.
I think it
or
just
God.
happens. I think it just happens to be Esau than Samson.
Yeah.
Totally two examples. Hairy men that messed up.
No, but Samson took everything seriously, man. It's just Delilah was hot.
I mean, no, it wasn't just Delilah. Like, he really loved the women that he shouldn't have.
Hey,
and we're going to go back, actually, speaking of that, that's going to come back into play. But we're going to briefly go and we're going to cover the final main event other than that doesn't have anything to do with Jacob and Esau in Isaac's life. Because remember, we're following the patriarchs and we're still in the life of Isaac, who is the son of Abraham. And going into chapter 26.
Isn't it crazy that the main story of Isaac's life doesn't have Isaac in it at all?
That's not true. That's what 26 is.
Well, I mean, there's Esau and Jacob. Is like,
yeah, but this part of Isaac's life, while Jacob and Esau obviously is with them, they're younger, and he's in the tent. Remember that Abraham was very rich, had a lot of herds.
But when people think of Isaac, they don't think of this story. They think of the boy that was about to be sacrificed.
Yeah, they either think of the boy. He's always attached to other well-known figures like Abraham and then Jacob and Esau.
He's a filler patriarch.
This is time to shine. This is time right here.
This is Isaac's time to really give the story of what he goes through. Nathan, if you could read the first 5 verses in Genesis chapter 26.
No.
Let's get
All right.
Okay.
There was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Gerar. Then the Lord appeared to him and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I shall tell you. Dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws."
Super, super significant. Now, that sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
No.
Yeah.
It's the first time I ever heard God make that promise.
Okay. No, what I'm referring to, that's his reaffirmation of the promise that he gives to Abraham. But the whole situation, what does that remind you of?
Noah.
No. What?
Jesus.
The same thing happened to Abraham. Abraham's story starts off with the famine, and Abraham's first reaction, remember, is to go into Egypt. That's when they first, met up with the Pharaoh.
Oh,
and
yeah. I get it.
Man, guys, we
John the Baptist.
I was saying with Noah, because God made a pact to Noah, and then whatever. Okay.
Well,
so he goes into Egypt. He wants to go to Egypt. He wants
to go to Egypt. It's just funny that we're repeating these same like
father, like son.
Like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, instead of praying to God for guidance, Isaac is kind of falling in that same pit trap of running to local powerhouses and leaders for support and help whenever he encounters some type of, trouble or hardship. A famine is a big deal, especially back whenever your entire wealth and livelihood depends on livestock.
For those of you that live in America, famine means there's nothing around. Like, you can't go to, your grocery store and get bananas.
We have farmers here in America.
Yeah, and imagine all of them don't have anything to sell.
Well, it's happened before. I think we're going through a egg famine, kind of.
Yeah,
I could go buy eggs.
We're not at all. There's so many.
Not exactly. There's a lot of signs that a lot of. Whatever.
I could go to Sam's Club right when they open and buy crates of eggs. I was just at Sam's Club. They have plenty of eggs.
The stores by us, there was signs on all over the wherever they sell the eggs, basically saying like, "Sorry, we're out of eggs. Blah blah blah. Please be patient. Please be patient." But there was one of the largest egg producers in the country that they had like a flu going around for the chickens.
So you don't have eggs for a few days. A famine, you don't have eggs at all.
Well, once my chickens decide to start laying eggs, anytime now,
I'm glad that we reestablished how important if a famine was bad, it was bad for them. We could buy eggs today. We don't know what it's like. Just remember, you guys have watched what was that movie? It wasn't Prince of Egypt. It was the Joseph King of Dreams, the DreamWorks movie.
I've never seen that.
Where everything is famined out and they can't.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that Abimelech is the king of the Philistines. The name Abimelech, I know we've heard this name again with Abraham, but
I think at this point that just means king.
It's a word like Pharaoh. Yes, we're not arguing that. It's factually, that's what Abimelech wasn't a guy named Abimelech. If you were king of the Philistines, your name was Abimelech as a title. Just so we can clarify that.
The same Abimelech.
Yeah, no, it's the same Abimelech for 150 years.
It's the same one.
Josh is Googling it because he doesn't believe me. Josh, I promise, I looked this up. Abimelech was a title for the ruling person of the Philistines, and it's in Gerar, and he shouldn't have been there, but it's what God does for Isaac that he didn't do for Abraham at the time was he stops him. He doesn't let him go. His intention was to go to Egypt, just like his dad. And the Lord said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land which I tell you, dwell in this land, and I will be with you. I will bless you. He's reaffirming that idea that we talked about earlier. Even when it comes to the barren wives and the children, God is the source of your blessing. And when you put your trust in him, he's going to supply you. Doesn't matter what's going on in the world. But Isaac has to go through a little bit of a journey here to really learn this lesson for himself. I'm sure that Abraham imparted all these lessons to him. He would have told him about his life and his experiences. But again, sometimes we have to run our own heads into walls before we really get the main point. So Isaac is there in the land of Gerar, where the Philistines are.
You're right.
Every time I think of Philistines, I think of
David.
No. I think of like a gold with red helmet. You know, like that red furry helmet thing on the helmet.
You mean like from the old like Children's Illustrated Bible?
I always picture Philistines have red as like their color, red and gold. It's like their uniform.
I don't. Sure.
I'm just. That's going to be important.
Is it
that red? Even the Romans had that red on like that kind of Mohawk looking thing, basically.
Yeah, the centurions and the
legionaries. It was used to kind of like instill fear into the enemies because
it was a symbol of their authority, the different levels of headgear. Okay, so
was Philistine just like who are Philistines?
Philistines are the people of the land of Gerar. They were like a mini nation. They had a king and a
kingdom. They come up a lot in the Bible.
They're going to come up a lot, and they're right now.
Is this the first time they've come up?
No, because Abimelech and Abraham have run into each other, and they've made a pact before. But what's interesting is that if you read on and continue, you'll see that there's another similar situation beyond. It's like beat for beat, beyond just the fact that there was a famine and he tried to go to Egypt. He actually stops. He doesn't go to Egypt. He listens to God. And he remains in the land where he was on his way to Egypt, in the land of Gerar. Nathan, if you could continue the story on from verses 6 through 9, I want to briefly pause.
Before he starts, I want to say that you are right. It does mean father of the king. But theoretically, in this story, it could still be the same Abimelech.
It's not.
It could. It could. That's all I'm saying, because it's still in the same time frame and everything.
How could it?
It could.
Sure.
So Isaac dwelt in Gerar, and the men of the place asked about his wife, and he said, "She is my sister." For he was afraid to say, "She is my wife," because he thought, lest the men of the place kill me for Rebekah, because she is beautiful to behold.
Here we go again.
I just don't understand why this is a thing. How often were people killing people for their wives?
Obviously pretty often, if you have to say that she's your sister constantly.
It's nuts to me how, like, Abraham does this a couple times, and you think he would have told Isaac, like, hey, listen, this was one of the major mistakes I made in my life. Just don't do this. And he just falls right into his footsteps. And the worst part is, this time, it's not even his sister at all. Like, it's not even, he couldn't even half-truth it, you know what I mean? With it being his half-sister with his father or some other woman. It's straight up just...
That's why later in the Bible, you know what I mean? It doesn't say that he is a righteous man.
Yeah, this is the next part's kind of funny.
It does, though. Yeah.
Now it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked through a window and saw, and there was Isaac, showing endearment to Rebekah, his wife. Then Abimelech called Isaac and said, quite obviously, she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister? Isaac said to him, because I said, lest I die on account of her. And Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people might soon have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. So Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death.
So at this point, he knew of them, and he knew of their God, and he knew that these people are no laughing matter.
No, and he's looking through a window, and they're not even trying to hide it. He's just like, I don't know what showing endearment to his wife is. Maybe they're just cuddling while having a picnic. But
no, I not cuddling.
But I'm gonna go with head. I don't know, but
that's the Bible's way of saying
they're husband and wife.
Yeah, they are definitely doing.
It's like, bro,
Abimelech was probably looking out this window. It was like, this is an interesting brother and sister relationship.
He had that moment.
We heard that song. Let's get down to business.
No. Yeah, that is just funny. He's doing the same thing Abraham does. Why do you guys think that is?
Because Abraham probably told him, hey man, this worked for me.
Why was Isaac so close to his window?
That's another thing. Yeah, where were they? Was he chilling in like where the king of the Philistines could just like walk by while grabbing an apple and just like, wait a minute, what are y'all doing? Why are y'all in the middle of the street?
Well, let's be clear. This is the father of the king, right?
Okay, this is the.
So
Which
they're
father?
He's still on Abimelech in a name meeting.
Well, if he's the father of the king, he's probably not in
the name. The name Abimelech physically translates to father of the king, but it was also the title given to whoever was the king. Abimelech.
So father of the king means that you are the king because you are the father of the new king. Gosh, I see where you're going with that.
I didn't understand that this would be such a mind twist for you, Josh. But this story also makes me think about like when David, because I'm assuming the king lived in a palace that's high up, and if you walk out onto your balcony, you can see the tops of houses, you can see in windows.
Yeah, well, he doesn't have binoculars.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was like super far. It was probably close, but think about how like David was able to see Bathsheba bathing on her roof, and then was like, I'm gonna murder her husband and bang her. But he probably witnessed, something in his courtyard. Again, Isaac being a wealthy man, a man of influence, would have been somebody of note coming into their place and asking for aid because there's a famine going on. So he was probably well within the vicinity of the courtyard or within the guest house or the guest area or something of that like. That's why it was so easy to see. And Abimelech is rightly upset, like he should have been. He's like, bro, you just tell me. I wasn't going to kill you. I know you and your God and that you're blessed.
And here's the thing that I believe. Like, they always say, I wasn't going to kill you. They totally were going to kill him. Yeah, they're probably, or they're like, he got us. Now we can't kill him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I think really happened. Like,
well, for him also to say that one of our people could have lain with her. As in, what was he trying to insinuate? Kind of, because I do not imagine Rebecca being so like willing to be, yeah, no problem, I'll lay with you.
Well, I'm not saying that Sarah did that either. I don't think they had a whole lot of choice.
No. I'm saying in Rebecca's situation, like Abimelech's mind, saying like, what I'm trying to insinuate is that when he's saying one of my people could have lain with her, I'm also trying to say that there might have been rape that was going on.
I mean, I'm assuming like a lot of that's against the physical will of the partner that is taken from their husband or the husband's murdered husband. Now that I think about it, I just mentioned that like David totally did that same thing. I say, why is that a thing? But David did the same thing. He found the woman he liked and totally made it to where her husband died so that he could have her as his wife. That's a thing. I guess it's abuse of power. If you're the king, you can have whatever you want. That's crazy. It clicked in my head.
Yeah, but David didn't just outright kill him. He sent him in a situation where it looked like he died. Like, well, he really did die.
He was punished with the murder of this man. If it's just like, I didn't actually stab him with myself, but you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a thing. Isaac then it's very interesting how the story progresses. Like, hey, don't do this. I'm not gonna have you read this next portion, but essentially what happens is Isaac is there and he sows in the land in this time of harvest, and meaning he planted a bunch of stuff and was waiting for a harvest. And it says that he reaped in the same year 100-fold than what he planted. So God was obviously blessed him. He began to prosper and was very wealthy and successful in very different ways. It said he was very prosperous, and he had possessions and flocks and herds and great number of servants, so much so that the Philistines envied him and became jealous. And they pretty much stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of it. This next portion of the story I want to get into is very interesting. It's a very not as spoken about story of the Bible, is Isaac and his wells, the significance behind them. Isaac becomes, again, very successful in the land of Gerar around the Philistines in this time of famine. And the Philistines, again, because they're not God's people, I mean, they're all cool if you come to them for help, but the moment that you start to outshine them, they're not going to be as cool with things, and they start to kind of try to sabotage them. The necessity for wells in that time was extremely important, especially for a society where livestock and people was the source of your power. Water was vital. That's why famines and things like that were so detrimental and so terrifying for these societies, because it was essentially just, without that, you don't have life. You lose everything. Imagine. And they were markers indicating that you have also claimed surrounding areas for life-sustaining wells, and they would be necessary landmarks and stopping points by anybody who would travel around the otherwise unoccupied area. So the Philistines get jealous, and they start stopping up the wells, meaning they're digging out dirt, filling up the wells with dirt, so they're no longer able to produce water that Abraham had dug. And Abimelech straight up goes to Isaac and says, you need to get out of here. Go away. You've become much mightier than we are. So Isaac departs from there and pitches a tent in the valley of Gerar. He goes down to the valley. And then Nathan, if you can continue, we're going to read on from verses 17 to I think 20.
Then Isaac departed from there and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar and dwelt there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. He called them by the names which his father had called them. Also Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found a well of running water there. But the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. So he called the name of the well Esek, because they quarreled with him.
Mm-hmm.
Then...
So 2 wells are dug already. So there's multiple wells, and there's a story that Isaac encounters here. What, Josh?
I wasn't going to say anything, but now that you have me on the mic, I was going to say, nowadays we have how deep are your pockets, but back then it could have been how deep are your wells? That
Deep
man's
enough.
got deep wells.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
2 wells. Obviously, the names are very significant too in the story. But first one, he redigs the name and names these wells that Abraham had dug, his father. And obviously, these wrought jealousy from the Philistines. They're trying to cancel out what Abraham had did out of envy. And then the herdsmen dug the second well, and they named Esek. Now, Esek, because there was such fighting and quarreling over this well, they were trying to say, oh, this is our land, this is our water. He named it Esek, which essentially means strife. I don't think I'm going to make you read this whole portion, Nathan, but this kind of...
Either way,
He
this man
keeps
shows up
building
into their
wells.
kingdom.
Like, it's not...
He builds one more. He digs it. So what Isaac does is very important, because it's the way he reacts to this type of trouble and adversity. Obviously, God has shown himself to Isaac that he is with him, and then from him comes a blessing. So I believe Isaac had this encouragement and this faith at this point, and he was moving forward. And when he saw that there was quarrel, he didn't sit there and fight to the death. He's like, okay, I'm going to go dig another well. And when they came and they argued with him again, he named it Sitna, which means hatred or enmity. When it's interesting, this kind of idea where it goes like when you have enemies or when you have a problem, it starts with jealousy. And from jealousy, there's some quarreling, strife. And then from strife, it goes straight up to hatred. right? And enmity, straight up warfare. And you see this escalation with the people in the area. And Isaac is probably starting to get a little worried at this point because, while he believes that God is with him, it's still an entire city nation or city state that's kind of continually battling with him. And he knows he's not on good terms with Abimelech right now. And so he's trying to just find some peace. And he moves on. The fourth well he digs, there was no quarrel over it. And he named it Rehoboth, which means to make room. Because at that point, Isaac was like, for finally, now the Lord has made room for us and we shall be fruitful in the land. So he knows that I just need to be where God wants me to be. And it might be this way because, again, he shouldn't have been in this area anyway. He should have turned to God immediately when the famine started. And God is using this situation to move him from place to place. Didn't work here, and now there's no strife here. I believe that it was God's hand there as well to kind of guide him where he should have been in the first place. But he names it Rehoboth. So there's Esek, Sitna, and Rehoboth.
And I'm going to bring up basically the fact that in the Philistines' defense here, that this man just came into their kingdom for almost basically curses them because of the whole wife-sister thing. And then he's doing amazing doing fantastic. All his crops are growing. Everything's going extremely well. 100-fold. I mean, he's having probably the best. He's doing amazing. And all these people are extremely jealous, and nobody likes for the new guy to do extremely well. For anybody who's ever, from a non-secular point of view, I guess you could also look at it from like poker, right? Whenever the new guy shows up on a poker table and is doing amazing, everybody's looking at him like, oh, this is got to be like a first-time luck type of thing, beginner's luck. But when nobody likes him, first off, because he's doing amazing well. If he takes the whole pot and wins all the money, everybody's like furious. So even in this situation, I can see why they're doing what they're doing. It's not nice. It's not nice to fill up somebody's well. That was a lot of hard work that was put in there. But either way, I just looking at it from their point of view, I'm just trying to be on a neutral standpoint here.
No, you're not completely wrong. It's kind of seeing their point of view of like I said, Isaac shouldn't have been there in the first place. Like, what was his business mingling with those people? He should have, even if
he's been there probably a long time too. Actually, no,
it's been at least a year.
Has.
Well, it's been at least a year because it takes a year to get the harvest. It says in 1 year he got 100-fold, and then he continued to get rich, and then he left. And I don't know how long it takes to establish an area and dig wells, but I like Isaac's response. I like Isaac to continue to be, seeking a peaceful resolution to these type of conflicts.
Yeah, but at the same point, from a business standpoint, like even if let's say he is doing it in a peaceful manner, but at the same, it's like instead of just leaving and getting out of town, he stays because he can make a lot of money there, and he has made a lot of money there. That's one thing with this family line is they know how to make money, and they're pretty good at it. And if they can, they'll make the money.
I don't think the thing is that we have to understand. It's not just that they know how to make money. It's that God is the one that's given them this blessing. It's like God is showing everybody around them. When I say I've blessed them and I've set them apart, I've blessed them and set them apart. And so it's like everything he touches, he's like, Isaac is kind of a weird cat. He's just the type of guy that like,
yes, but you even said that he's not supposed to be here.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where he's at. God is blessing him. Like everything he's ever tried to do, he's been pretty good at, right? He's been pretty successful. He's like that one guy that everything he tries to do. And I can see that rubbing off the wrong way on some people, some people will get annoyed by that. It's like, imagine everybody else is struggling in a famine, and this guy's over here having the greatest return on crops that anybody's ever seen.
Exactly.
Needless to say.
Yeah. All right.
Nathan, if you could read verses 23 to 25, he continues on his journey.
Thought we weren't going with the Beersheba one, right?
Yeah, he leaves the area that he was in, and he moves down to Beersheba, kind of the area that he was in the first place when he first got married to Rebecca. And interesting thing that happens here is that the Lord appeared to him at night when he left, and he kind of returned back to where he was supposed to be, almost like signifying that it was good. Nathan, if you could read what God says to him in verses 23 to 25.
Then he went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for my servant Abraham's sake. So he built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord, and he pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants dug a well.
Isaac's servants dug a fifth well just because they love it.
I mean, this is a very interesting story with the well digging.
It's just showing us the background and the character, and it's showing how God is blessing him everywhere he digs. It's also like the act of digging a well is not always guaranteed to be successful. If you dig a well and find water in that place, there are certain signs you can find, but to be striking water every time, there's a reason people are fighting over that. There's a reason people are jumping in and wanting to take it. And it's just his response to people.
The first time that we see God showing up and speaking to Isaac. I mean,
No,
he spoke to him well
literally
before.
in the beginning of this chapter 2, he says, don't go down to Egypt. He comes to him and gives him a warning because he was trying to go and do what his father Abraham was doing. But he
about the promise. Okay.
Yeah. And no, he tells him about the promise earlier as well. He says, I will be with you. I will bless you. But I like that he goes up and he says, do not fear. I am with you, and I will bless you and multiply your servants for my name, for Abraham's sake. Isaac, again, he was probably stressed out. And it's like the next part of the story really kind of hammers out why he would have been. He keeps running into strife, and he knows that there's this conflict building up. He knows that he's making an impact in this land, and other people are going to hear it, but he stays faithful. He continues on. He goes from place to place where he has room, where God makes room, where he recognizes that God's the one that makes room. And I see that Isaac is an extremely faithful person in the way that he's responding to this adversity and to this strife. Everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes we make mistakes and we're in our disobedience or in our deciding if things are better in our own way. We can make neat problems for ourselves that maybe shouldn't have been there. But God is faithful, and through his blessing, it was with Isaac, and comes to him and reassures him. Says, don't be afraid. And there's a reason for that. Because right here in this next passage that Nathan's going to read, the final encounter with Abimelech, we're going to see, I mean, it's going to all work out, but it's a little hairy at first. Nathan, if you could read from verse 28 for us, please.
But verse 26, then Abimelech came to him from Gerar with Ahuzzath, one of his friends, and Phicol, the commander of his army. And Isaac said to them, why have you come to me, since you hate me and have sent me away from you?
Yeah, it's like, you imagine, Abimelech doesn't just show up to beat him. He comes with a friend from his court, Ahuzzath, and his friend Phicol, the commander of his army. So you have this whole troop of people coming up to Isaac in the middle of the plain of Beersheba where he comes to.
Was Phicol another title, or was it the same commander of the army? Because Phicol was the same title or person that Abimelech came forward when talking with Isaac. I mean, when talking with Abraham.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Let me look it up.
Look it up.
It could have been. It could have been a title. What?
What are you talking about? When he was with Abraham?
When Abraham and Abimelech basically made kind of a pact that this is my well.
Yeah, when he made an allegiance in chapter 21.
Exactly, when he's cutting up all those animals. It could have been a title.
Good catch. Yeah, it's chief captain of the army. I think you're absolutely right. There's another one of those. I didn't actually do the research on that. I just kind of assumed that it was the name as well. But yeah, nice catch. Yeah, it's the same thing. So Phicol, the commander of the army, and they come up to Isaac. And
Ahuzzath obviously was just one of his friends. So
yeah, doesn't say anything, but I'm assuming it was probably somebody in the court, probably somebody of influence. But Abimelech comes like with a bunch of people. It's kind of intimidating. You know, God tells him right before, don't be afraid. And then all of a sudden the commander of the army and the king of this city state comes up to you like, why you been digging all these wells? You know what I mean? Like, I heard you've been causing problems.
Stop digging wells, man.
Yeah. If you continue on, Nathan, from verse 28, we'll see kind of the resolution.
But they said, we have certainly seen that the Lord is with you. So we have said, let there now be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, since we have not touched you, since we have done nothing to you but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now blessed of the Lord. So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Then they arose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. It came to pass that same day that Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they have dug, and said to him, We have found water. So he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day.
Boom, little background story there. But that's such an awesome, conclusion to this whole strife and this problem that Isaac, went through. Even though that he was going through this trouble and these problems with the herdsmen and the other people of Greer, it's evident, like I said earlier, that God's blessing was on them, and God was so with Isaac to where even kings and people around him were afraid to kind of double cross him. They're like, man, I'd rather be on his side than be an enemy of this person. Like, everything he touches is blessed. Everything that he does is obviously touched by God. And he comes out in person with the commander of his army, not to combat, not to fight, but to kind of enter into a covenant. And it's really cool. They have this feast, and then they wake up early and make this oath of peace between their people and Isaac and his company of people. Obviously, as we know, for those that know of the story of the Bible, the Philistines aren't going to necessarily remain peaceful to the people of Israel.
One thing that I've also noticed before with Abraham, when Abimelech basically let him choose any place in the land to call his own, not his own, but to dwell in. So with this, I was looking, I couldn't see that Abimelech was telling Isaac that he could really take any place and use it for yourself. It was just, he just kind of wandered and did his own thing. So he's digging up all these wells, and it's not really a place that was granted to him by the king, like how it was before with Abraham. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more of God gave it to him, and then it's everybody else recognizing, okay, that's your place. We're going to enter in peace. Don't fight us, because they pretty much know, like, somebody like this, if you do harm to us, we'll probably end up losing, because they admitted themselves that they had become greater than Isaac and his troop became greater than the Philistines at that point, and they are blessed of the Lord. So they ate and drank and rose early in the morning and swore an oath. And it's funny because the servants come up almost like Isaac didn't realize that as he was making an altar for God, whenever God came and spoke to him, his servants went and did what they did. They found another well, but they probably hadn't found water yet. Because again, it wasn't a guarantee every time that you would dig and it would be a successful well. And it was almost like a sign that God is like, it's a confirmation. Comes up and is like, after they feast, after they finally resolved, he's at peace with all the people that were around him. He's in the area back to where God kind of wants him to be, in the area which now will be called Beersheba, because he names that fifth well. They come up to him and they say, hey, we found water. It's like another successful point. And they name it Sheba, which means oath. And the city around there will be known as Beersheba. That name means well of oaths. So I thought as I was reading and as I was studying the story, I was really engrossed in it. And I don't know, it was touching me in an awesome way, because I feel like this story isn't spoken a lot. Isaac and the wells and his interactions with Abimelech and the struggles that he went through. But instead of being combative and fighting constantly and being, abrasive to everybody who was around him, he was more faithful to God, trusting in his promise, and just kept moving forward, kept continuing on doing what he does. And God at the end was the one that gave him the victory. And through the blessing that God gave, he made peace with all those that wanted war. He brought peace whenever other people wanted strife. He brought, tranquility where others were like asking for enmity and war.
I am curious, going back to the whole well thing, I am curious on, how did they know where to dig wells, and what made Isaac's decision stand out? Because there's always, especially with this, like this was an important thing, obviously, where to dig a well.
there's many different. I did a little bit of research, but I ended up falling down this rabbit hole of like these weird people who made a living, especially like in the early 1900s and
Yeah,
like
like
before there was
little-
technology. They would hold like straws and they would pretend
Yeah.
like they can sense where there's water, like they were water whisperers or something like that. Like they can feel the magnetic currents of rushing waters.
They weren't pretending.
It was all a scam.
No,
It's
that
like
is
pretty much
actually a
proven
thing.
scam.
First off, that is actually
It's a
like
thing.
a real thing.
There are people.
Well,
There,
first of all, I know where there's water. Okay.
if you're out in the field, Nathan's like, yeah, right here.
Another
know.
old way that they used to do was if you would watch the animals closely, and the animals would kind of, even if there was no water, they would gravitate toward an area wherever there is water, and then instinctively they would basically like try to dig it up.
It's almost like there'd be like extra vegetation there that was green that like certain animals would eat. You know,
Yeah, well,
maybe
if you're
that
in
was
a-
a good indicator.
if you're in a place
Usually,
where there's a famine,
So in my experience, I usually find water like at a lake or a river, ocean.
Oh man,
nice.
why didn't we ever think of that?
I don't know.
Why didn't they
dig
think
wells
of this?
near a river?
This is like riveting.
Why don't they
conversation,
dig
like
wells
well
in a
digging.
river?
This, I mean, no offense, but the well thing, I know your guys are captivated by the 5 wells that he dug. It's
Think
it's
about how
not a
many-
lot.
so-
So this is the most exciting thing that happened to Isaac.
Okay, so Abraham was killing.
Abraham
kings.
fought like lizard kings. and,
Okay,
like,
I don't know about the lizard king,
giants,
but there was definitely like
reptilians.
upon research. I don't know about the lizard stuff, but it was definitely giants and giant nations and like Nephilim
Yeah.
kings.
in like tar pits
And yeah,
stuff.
tar pits, and he was the Hebrew by the
Right.
term.
Abraham did some crazy stuff. Jacob, doesn't he wrestle God himself? Like, I'm not trying
that's
to
what
be
I'm trying to
mean,
say. That's what
but,
I'm trying to say. That Isaac is like
this is like the most interesting.
If
part
I
of it.
had any of their lives, I would want Isaac's life. I'm sorry, Isaac. Look at his life up until now.
This is
He was born
boring.
the son of like the most rich and successful person in the area. He had a wife who was beautiful by all accounts, and that he loved dearly. That
oh yeah,
followed
this
him his
time
whole
it actually
life.
says that she's beautiful, right?
Well, Sarah was also said as beautiful. It's just I believe that when I was trying to find the verse where it says that her beauty was preserved, I couldn't find that verse, so I might have been adding that in a lot and saying that there's the context clues that shows that she was still beautiful and able to
Yes.
breastfeed and able to wean a child even into her 90s, and she was still sought after. So context clues tells us that Sarah was beautiful, but there isn't the verse that says and the Lord preserved her beauty. It's not in the Bible, but what I'm saying is that like Isaac had a life of peace. He was chilling in the fields, meditating. He finds a beautiful woman. He loves her. He has 2 sons. You know, sure, he took him a little bit to be able to give birth. God wanted to test his faith a little bit there, but he has two heirs, right? He loves his firstborn son. He's able to overcome and become super wealthy and successful in the midst of everybody losing everything. And he lives his life without war, without having to fight, without having to lose people and friends and having to train soldiers. I think anybody would rather have that and have God fight your battles for you. At least I would. I'd rather live a life where God fought my battles and I just relied on him instead of like gaining some type of glory in a physical conflict with somebody else.
Yeah, but glory with
That's
glory
why the
comes
world
legend.
won't remember your name.
That's a quick
The fact
quote back
that
to Troy,
the
but-
fact that Isaac kind of did so little, then it's not like he becomes kind of not as cool as all the others, right? That's
I
a good
guess
way to
from
put
like
it.
from a worldly point of view, maybe, but Isaac was also
I just hope that when we
considered-
go to heaven, that Isaac doesn't like smack us and say, "I am cool." guys."
Isaac is the closest representation to like, especially with his life when he was offered as a sacrifice by Abraham. He symbolizes like a messianic like figure in the Bible. He's
Okay.
kind of like a peaceful figure. He willingly laid down his life. He's somebody who was faithful and obedient. He wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination because he was still a man. And
Yeah.
actually, looking more, and if we continue here, Nathan, read the last 2 verses of this chapter, and we're going to end here.
I'm gonna say Isaac if you're looking at a BLT sandwich, Isaac is the L in that BLT.
I can't believe you guys are like ragging on Isaac.
He's the lettuce.
He's always mentioned. He's up there on that.
Well, Abraham's the bacon.
Abraham,
and
Isaac,
Jacob's
and Jacob.
the tomato.
I am the Lord your God of Abraham.
Isaac. You need the crunch.
Oh my gosh!
If the
dude.
bacon's
the
not
lettuce.
crunchy enough. Yeah, he's the lettuce.
A vital
He needs
part.
to be there, but it's not.
You need to have the L to make a BLT.
Exactly.
If I see the name of this episode,
It's
the
gonna-
BLT.
He's the L and the BLT. That is the name. All right.
Final,
I'm
but
gonna read the last verse,
it's-
which is these last two verses aren't even primarily about Isaac.
I want to read this because it is. Read it. I'm gonna
It's
tell you.
not
why.
really.
I'm gonna tell you
It
why.
mentions Esau's wives.
It's why do you keep saying Esau? It's Esau.
Esau.
No, I like
saying
Esau.
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 That's just right.
No.
Is that Romanian? Esau.
Esau.
Oh.
It is.
What is it?
When Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basement, or better known as Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite,
I see
And
it
they
more
were-
as base math.
and base math. And they were a grief of mind to Isaac and Rebecca. So Isaac and Rebecca didn't like base math or Judith.
It wasn't all hunky dory for all of Isaac's life. You see that, and again, I wanted to add this.
Lettuce
into
can be crispy and crunchy.
Listen,
It's refreshing sometimes.
the reason I wanted to bring this part and to finish out Isaac, because this impacts Isaac's life, and we're going to continue. We're not fully done with Isaac yet, but going back to Esau, introducing him again after the whole, encounter with Abimelech in his life. Throughout all this, Esau does something which up until this point has never worked out. Entered into a polygamous relationship with two people that he shouldn't have. Remember how important it was to Abraham that Isaac was found a wife from his people, and that he
Yes.
literally had his servant put his hand, quote unquote, under his
servant
thigh,
had a quest.
and had to do this whole thing to find a proper heir. And Esau,
I have a sign. If she gives water to my donkeys or my camels.
dude, it was very important because from that, should in Isaac's mind, he still sees Esau as the one that will carry on the promise as the heir. He goes off and picks from exactly who he shouldn't, from the Canaanites, from the Hittites, or they're both Hittites. And it was extremely grief to the mind, and I read a lot behind it too, and I did some research. It wasn't just because they were married and weren't, part of their tribe or part of their family. It was also because they were very well known to worship other gods and actually sacrifice and perform rituals. And Esau, I could see him being that cool guy that kind of does what Samson figure who he was the man of the field. He was really successful. He was daddy's boy. He kind of did whatever he wanted. And he just I'll get two wives. I'm Esau. I'm a big, strong, hairy
Well, the
man
Hittites
of the
were
field.
also known to be very, very aggressive. Not the greatest people, other than the whole worshiping other gods thing, but they were known for that reason. I mean, obviously, Abraham, when he went to go buy land, he bought it from a Hittite, right? He bought it from Ephron the Hittite.
Yeah, it was the area in which he bought it from. But what's interesting is that it's not his only two wives. Esau actually ends up marrying Mahalath, he marries one of the daughters of Ishmael later on, almost as if, because again, there's
I
all
named
these
my
character
daughter
tropes.
Judith.
Where did you see Judith?
Judith is his first wife's name, dude.
Okay.
What do you mean where?
My bad. Well, the funny thing is in Genesis chapter 36, it re-mentions the names of Esau's wife, but he kind of changes their names. It calls one of them Ada, of Elon the Hittite, Ohilabahama, and then Basemath is also mentioned again, but Mahalath is the third, or the daughter of Ishmael. Almost as if after marrying and living a life with these two other women who end up being terrible and they're not obedient, they were probably a grief to Isaac and Rebecca, doing whatever they want. I could see them being bratty and in their own kind of culture.
Yeah.
And Esau kind of let it go. And it's after he loses out on his blessing and he realized all that happened, it's he tries to go back and marry. Okay, well, let me marry one of my grandfather's, or one of my cousins or something like that. Let me try to go fix my wrong here. And he marries one of Ishmael's daughters. But it's a lot telling. I want to build this base to tell a lot about the character and the type of person that Esau was, and to see why it was that God even foretold and knew from the very beginning. He told Rebekah that the younger will serve the older.
We know what type of person Esau was. He was a dummy.
He was
It's very
unfortunately a
clear
jock.
cut. He was a dummy. He gave up his birthright for some soup or stew. I always say soup, but it's actually stew. For some stew, and then he married 2 women.
Yeah, it's a polygamy has never worked out. Like all of the Bible, like it was never a good thing. And there is like this long-standing thing where in the rest of the Bible there's this running trope where God is going to kind of choose the younger, the weaker, the lesser, and make them the inheritors or the heroes or the
God always
ones
uses
selected.
the underdog.
Yeah, like he chose Abel over Canaan. He chose Jacob over Esau. He chose David over all of his older brothers. He chose Joseph, over to rescue all the other 12 sons of Jacob. And it's something that's going to repeat often throughout the Bible. And there's a reason for that. Is because and this goes back to the same thing of, why is it that a lot of these patriarchal figures and people throughout the Bible deal with this issue of being, barren at first and it needs God's intervention? It's because that's where God's glory shines the brightest. Whenever it's like, I can't do it on my own. It's impossible for us as humans, but God steps in and I can give all credit and glory to God for this thing because he did it. And when God chooses usually people that are lesser or younger or not as able, and does great things through them, like Gideon, again, another one, his glory shines brighter, and it's all for his glory at the end of the day. But that's where we're going to lead off on the story today. We're going to continue next time with the ending of Isaac's life and the crazy fulfillment of
Jacob.
Esau's selling of his birthright to Jacob and how that pans out. And we're going to go into the story of Jacob, which is extremely, extremely action-packed. Quite literally, I think the only person in the Bible to straight up fight God physically. So,
and no spoilers. No spoilers here.
Well, Nathan mentioned it earlier, but yeah.
Yes,
spoiler
but
alert. Jacob
who
fights
wins?
God.
That's the
We'll
question.
talk about it next time.
Yeah.
Well, what's the greater meaning, Andrew?
I feel like I did do a bunch of little greater meetings throughout this whole episode.
Yes, but you always start, so just start with it.
Just give us another little one.
When looking at the story,
Mention all the 5 wells. The well digging.
there's a connection between them. There's a lot that could be like if you wanted to preach. There's a
Listen,
lot.
Nathan, Andrew was extremely excited about this whole
He's been
conversation.
telling me all week.
And I'm sure a lot of the listeners are like, what's with the wells? Like, why? Why we?
Here's the reason, right? The wells signify, like I mentioned earlier.
And this is your greater meaning.
Okay, I'm going to use this as my greater
All
meaning.
right.
It's interesting that later on, Jesus himself will refer to himself as the spring or well of living water. From him, wells are important. He meets the Samaritan woman by the well that was dug. It was a very famous well by Jacob. And it's a point, it's a landmark, it's a place of stopping, and it's a place from which life springs. Remember, I mentioned that it was like more than just a place where you draw a cup of water when you're thirsty. A well was literally like, okay, all of my livestock, everything that I have can be supported by this place. People that travel from around will have to stop at this place. Things that are necessary to survival and the success of my life come from here. And Jesus likens himself and his word to being like living water. He says, if you drink from me, drink from this well, and you're going to thirst again. But if you drink from the water that I will give you, you will never grow thirsty again, right? So when we see Isaac as, again, starting off the story of the chosen people that God has set aside, we're now in the second generation. Abraham was the first. Now we're in 2 generations in, and God makes it a point to kind of have him go through these experiences where one well is stopped up, and then jealousy of other people leads to strife, which is literally the names. As you go through them, one was named jealousy, one was named strife, one was named hatred and enmity, and then one was made, to make room, and the last one was named the well of Os. I see a correlation there with God showing him that I am going to be the source of your life. I am going to be the source of your blessing. If you just not focus and fight, because I'm sure Isaac had fighters, just like Abraham had 318 trained men. He could have turned around and said, okay, I'm going to destroy Abimelech, clear out this land. But he doesn't. He has faith in God. He moves on. He goes forward. He continues on and does his thing. And God fights his battle for him. So if we could do the same, and realize that, yeah, here on earth, it's more than just, I need things here, I need to be successful here, and I have to fight with people that try to stop that. I recognize that my life, my blessing, my sustainment comes from God. And if I just focus on being obedient to God, he's going to guide me. Maybe this well stopped up and there's fight here because I shouldn't be here. But if I go on, God is the one that will make room. God is the one that will cause me to be blessed. And God will fight my battles for me. That's my greater meaning to the story.
So what's your greater meaning, Andrew?
Josh?
Wow. I mean, the majority of this story was the whole well thing.
I love that you guys love
it. I do love it. It just, okay. I guess I'll hit on Esau because I'm a big hairy man. So I kind of connect a little bit with Esau.
You are also like in the light, your beard and hair is red. Like you're what Esau looked like.
I no longer have a beard at the moment because I've de-Esawed myself. So with Esau, we have this simple man that enjoys the now in life. He's a hunter. He goes. He likes to feed his dad. Thinks that he's gonna get it all. And then comes the situation where he sells it and doesn't take things seriously. Even us as Christians, sometimes we go through life and you think that everything's dandy. You think that no matter what, because you are a child of God, or even if you're not a Christian, just because you have a certain position at a job, you're untouchable. You can do whatever you want. But because you lack wisdom in knowing how to prepare for the future, and you're only dwelling in the now, you end up doing these silly mistakes that can cost you everything. Showing up late to work, showing up, not taking things seriously on the job. I'm talking about more on the job things, but even in different aspects in life, it's just like if you're not prepared for an apocalypse, which I imagine Esau probably was. That's kind of what I'm trying to hit at. It's basically like everything can be lost in a moment if you're not prepared. Okay. That's my greater meaning.
That's how I go. That's really good. So you hit on the whales, and he hit on Esau. The greater meaning of this episode to me would be we oftentimes, so like if you read this story, right, and I'm going to go on the Jacob and Esau part, and then I'm going to not go into the whales because Andrew does such a spectacular job with that. You saw that Esau gave up his birthright to Jacob, and that was like a finality, and he lost his blessing. We don't live in that type of time period today because there was a person called Jesus Christ that came to earth and took upon the sins of the world, died on the cross for your sins, and resurrected again. Don't you ever let the devil fool you into thinking that you sold your soul or you're beyond redemption or that it's too late for you. Because a lot of people, they make little deals and little things in life. They make agreements in life where they feel like, oh man, my sin is so great that there's no turning back for me. And that's kind of what Esau did. His sin was so great, there was really no turn. But we do have a way back, and that's through Jesus Christ. Like Andrew said, he is the living water. Jesus is life. And no matter how dead you are in sin or how much you feel like you sold your soul, no matter what you did, there's always redemption if you repent. Esau's biggest mistake is that he could never repent. It says that later on in the Bible. You have to repent if you ever sell your birthright, right? Here's the lie that the devil tells you today, that you could sell your soul. The soul is not yours to sell. The soul belongs to God. Jesus Christ died for your sins, and there's always redemption available for those that want to meet Jesus and to repent and give their lives over to Christ. And that is my greater meaning.
That was actually really good.
You can't sell your soul?
You cannot sell your soul. And
I mean, people do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they do. But that does, like, Jesus died for everybody, right? Like, I think the devil lies to people saying that, like, your sin is too great. To me, selling your soul means you've sinned so great for the things of this world, or you compromised your values for things of this world, and that now you're beyond redemption. That's what I believe.
Let's say somebody does sell their soul, and then they become... Okay, let's just say somebody does. Okay, they sign an actual form and they sign a pact or whatever.
Oh, never mind. Then you can if you do that.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking Hollywood for a little bit here.
I know you're gonna bring the Hollywood,
and then they become Christian. Does that pact kind of go null and void?
Yeah, because Jesus's blood is stronger than any fake pact you think you made in your mind.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
To confirm what Nathan said, Galatians chapter 3, verses 26 through 29 tells us this: for you are all sons of God through faith in Jesus Christ. For as many of you were baptized into Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And if you are Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. You can't sell your birthright, or if you do, like Nathan said, and you feel like you have with little compromises, little sins, remember that Jesus died for that reason, so that you can repent, and by his blood and his, through your repentance, you can get forgiveness. That was a great point. That was awesome. There you have it, boys and girls.
I love the point that Abimelech says that we have seen that the Lord is with you. I know that I'm continuing this. Cool. I like that, because in my mind, I was kind of thinking a little bit like, what gods did they worship? Because obviously there was different nations worship different gods. I mean, Egypt, example. But with Abimelech, it was definitely really cool to see him say that we see that the Lord is obviously with you, and I kind of imagine that Abimelech's father, Abimelech, the father of the king, Abimelech's father, I don't know his name, probably told him about this man Abraham and his God that showed up in a dream to him and said, "You are surely dead." I imagine that story was probably passed down and told to them, and so they knew of these people that had God on their side, and they probably accepted that God to be the most powerful God in the land.
And they knew of these people that just kept lying about their wives. That's why he didn't even bother taking Rebecca this time. He's like, "Sure, it's your sister." And he kept peeking at him through the windows, like, aha.
He probably was spying on them for a little while. It's like, like father, like son, maybe.
Too much so.
All right, guys, you got to look out for that merch that's coming soon. We're gonna have refrigerators. We're gonna have circuit saws. We're gonna have table saws.
We're going straight into
every saws.
No, we have now. We will have basically our own construction line of drills, saws, oscillators.
John Deere needs to
watch
be
out.
Scared, because we're gonna have lawnmowers,
just drill bits,
just
the greater meaning drill bits.
So you guys need to watch out for that merch. It's coming.
It's definitely coming.
I have a line on the guy. There is a guy.
Well digging tools.
Sure.
What
And
is that? A shovel? Yeah, we'll have shovels, dude. We're gonna have tiles.
oh
We're gonna have it all.
All right.
what's the greater meaning to you guys? Again, we always want to hear from you guys. So if you hear something or you thought of something or you want to share with us what the greater meaning of this story and the well is worth to you, give us a shout at greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. That's greatermeaningpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, if you like what you hear and you want to support us, share us with your friends, give us that 5-star review, follow us and do all that good stuff.
But please,
Yeah.
for the most part, and like if you're gonna drink some ice cold water, use a Stanley cup
What?
because they're the best.
We are not. Stanley's not
gosh.
supporting us, but eventually maybe they will. That would be cool.
won't.
Either
But
way,
alright.
we love
Thank
to
you
hear
so-
from you. Love you
Yeah.
guys. And the action-packed sequence of the Bible will continue next
Sequel.
episode, because this episode was a well.
Of living water.
Yeah,
All right,
sure.
guys. This is Andrew signing off.
This is Nathan.
Gosh,
what
we
I'm
close
supposed to
just
do?
as good as we start.
One day we'll get it right. Thank you for listening, guys.
All right.
You guys have a good one.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.